On the count of five, four, three, two, one. Hello and welcome to productlessons.com, a YouTube channel where we talk to product leaders from all over the world and learn from them how they build and manage world class software products. Before we begin formally, I would like you all just to request you all that you must subscribe to the channel, because in the future episodes, just like in the past, I can assure you that we are getting some exciting lineup of product leaders, including the one today. And as you might, some of you who know me earlier, I have an audio only format for consumption. So I've given the link in the description below the YouTube channel. It's a SoundCloud, but you can listen on any of your podcast players. And yeah, with that, let me talk about my guest today and why I am so thrilled to have him. And in fact, this morning I'm still reading the book. It's called Software Product Management, and here's the author name, Timo Wagenblatt, and yeah, he's the guy that we are going to talk to today. And I made a LinkedIn post with all sincerity, and especially when people who are new to product management, and they ping me and they ask me, okay, what are the books that we should get started with? I often say start with Marty Kagan's Inspired, and then there is Product Manager's Desk Reference by Stephen Haynes, which is again a very comprehensive book. And then recently I also added Melissa Perry's Escaping the Build Trap, phenomenal for the right product mindset. But the latest addition to my recommendation is Software Product Management, Finding the Right Balance by Timo Wagenblatt. And I cannot recommend the book enough, especially for enterprise products. And I have known Timo for a few years now. Timo is a very active contributor to Product Management Festival, and I have been also associated with Product Management Festival. And I have known him, and I know his breadth of knowledge, his experience, his solid experience at SAP. But after reading the book, that respect for him multiplied manifold. And I feel really inadequate to be able to talk to him, because I feel, oh God, this man is an institution. The book itself is, it's not a small book. It's a tome. It's close to 480 pages, and it actually encapsulates product management end to end. And yeah, and I thought I must interview him. He was kind enough to send me a signed copy and gift me that. But I was a little late to respond. Otherwise, I would have interviewed him much before. So let's welcome Timo and talk to the man himself. Hello, Timo. How are you doing today?
Hello, Ravi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the nice introduction. I'm doing well. Hope you are doing well, equally as I do.
I'm doing great as well, Timo. So, Timo, before we jump into your book and your phenomenal book, why don't we start with your career trajectory and know how did you get into product management, especially after solid more than 20 years of product management experience? How did you get into it? That story would be a great way to start our conversation.
Yeah, okay. Let me start really many years ago. So I straight from university. I was basically looking like everyone else for a job, and I didn't know anything about product management. So I applied basically the local software company because I studied information systems as part of my business economy study, and also operations research. So it was somehow close to where I came from. So there was a local small company I have never heard before. So I applied to it. And at this time, this company was like 35 people. And I reported to the founder, who obviously was the product guy, like in many startups. I went into this basically product management by coincidence. We scaled the company quite fast, and my manager, the founder of the company, he had to scale the company, and we had offices suddenly in the US and Atlanta, down to Australia and Melbourne. And this was his topic, and I was back with our engineering team, taking more and more over and learning from him about product management and what we require to do basically about requirements management at the beginning and then getting a more holistic view. I did that for quite some time, helping to scale the company. And then I got an offer joining SAP, which is obviously a different animal. We're going from 300 something people to these days, I think we were around about 40,000 people at SAP, already
Right.
significant. Today we are 100,000 people.
Wow.
So in SAP, I took various roles. First, I basically did the same, just on a bigger scale within SAP, and then had various roles within SAP, and always being in product management. And besides, I had like 15 different titles. I was always the product manager. Yeah, that's more or less in a nutshell my history. It's like 20 years, a bit more in the meantime. Always in product management from the beginning, like more at the business analyst level, getting into a product manager, product leader at a smaller scale in a startup, and then joining SAP in various roles, sometimes more outbound focused, product marketing focused, sometimes more really in a development engineering product management biased role.
Got it. But was it a conscious decision to stay within with around product management? Maybe it would have begun as a chance happenstance in the early years, but later was it a conscious choice to stay in product management and develop deep knowledge and know-how?
Absolutely. So I actually think it was a really nice coincidence, and I really love it. Otherwise, I would have not stayed in product management for so many years, and I have no plans to stay out of product management ever, because it's just a very important role, and it just feels great to be like in the middle of everything, and helping the customers and looking at the market, and at the same time being very close to where things happen, to engineering teams, to sales teams, to the marketing teams. So that's, I think it's a perfect place for me. Besides, yes, there's lots of noise and there's lots of things going on, but I somehow like it.
Lovely. So my obviously next question is, what made you write the book? Of course, it tells a lot about your passion and your deep subject matter expertise, domain matter expertise, functional knowledge expertise on product management. But what led you? Because this is not a small effort to write such a book. I have seen people write product management books, but they are small books. They would just skim through a concept. But this is like your life's work. So what made you undertake such a big undertaking?
Yeah, so let's put it that way. I didn't plan to write a book of that size. It just happened. However, since early days, I planned to somehow write a book, and I invented the method. So Piper, that I more or less is the common theme throughout the book. Early on, even in the startup, I used Piper. I not formally invented it, but just by experience, I try to organize myself and then my team. I basically had to explain to every team member over and over again, like, what's my thinking here? How would I do this? And even there, I started writing down. Obviously, if you have to repeat the same thing over and over again, it would be okay to write something down. These days, we might use videos, but I started writing it down. And then at SAP, the same happened again. I learned that what I thought might be specific to my little world in the startup might be different in a global enterprise. But I also learned, no, actually, it's same product management, maybe more people, but the same things you have to think about. Maybe other people help you working on your product, but it's the same thing. So I even here then, as I become not just a product manager, but I became a manager of product managers. Again, I offered this way of product management more holistically, and I had to teach, I had to coach, I had to help. And this led me at the end as a New Year resolution stating, now I'll write a book. I have done it so often, it should be quick, pretty fast, next 4 months, and I'm done, which was likely a very bad estimation. It just took me then some months more, which was at the beginning very surprising to me. I thought it's my method. I know it. I do it every day. Just write it down. And partially I wrote something down, but writing a book, it's quite an endeavor. And yeah, but back to your question, this made me write the book. I, first of all, had always the inspiration to somehow write a book. And product management was for me then the natural topic. And this demand from people to talk to me about how I do it led to the conclusion the best case would be writing it down.
But so you said you usually wrote notes over your career, and then most of the content came from your own notes, and you wanted to publish it formally through a book. Is that right?
That's correct, but it doesn't mean I invent everything. And this is also how I wrote the book. I did not want to replicate what for people you mentioned, like Marty Kagan, already wrote. So I rather reference that.
Got it.
So I read a lot of books, and I know you are also a brilliant book reader and recommendation maker for books. And I likely you have looked at more books than I did, but I try to read everything in product management over my career.
Right.
And see whether there is some new thing. There's always some new thing you can learn. Someone who's doing this has thought about it deeper than someone else did or I did. So I try to take all of this. This is why my book basically has a bit of a more size than, which might be at the beginning hard for people, like it's too much. But the idea of the book is first have a part to explain what's this holistic product management approach, and then I thought it's not complete as a product, seeing the book as a product, if I not at least for each of the what I think is a success factor of products, give some recommendation, which is sometimes just a reference to a great book like Jobs to be Done or any of these classic books that are really helpful for product people.
Got it. So you mentioned that the book is about finding the right balance for your product, and yeah, finding the right balance for a product and finding balance for yourself as a product manager in order to be successful. So what does balance mean, and why is it important?
Yeah, good question. And I actually thought about, obviously, with the publisher, what would be the right name for the book. And I couldn't call it Piper book because no one could relate anything to it, as Piper, at least these days, and even today, is not commonly used or known by everyone. So balance for me is actually the main or one of the main things of the whole holistic product management concept. The balance means various things to me. Everyone who works in product knows there is really busy days. And because you are in the middle of everything, and if you're known as a product manager, many people might come to you and drop something on your plate. So therefore, keeping the balance, just your work-life balance, to look at this angle is important. And to make this properly right, you need to know what does my product currently need to be successful. And this is the first way of balancing. Balancing your time against the impact of the task that you currently have at hand, maybe forced from someone else, or maybe you because you look at it. So keeping the balance, therefore, is really important. And I've seen, unfortunately, some product people who couldn't keep the balance, which was not good for their health, for example. It's dangerous because many people in product are very passionate. I think you're a product guy, you are passionate. And I know there's many product guys also in my team who are really passionate, and we have to keep the balance there in a very basic level. But balance is, again, like the common theme in thinking. It's also balancing, for example, if you look at requirements, if you look at the problems that you want to solve, you need to balance the needs of your stakeholders because there might be very diverse needs, and there is internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, and unfortunately, they very often do not fit together. And over time, you need to find a balance for it. The same if you are working on a product and you have to balance, for example, the demand of new customers versus existing customers. My experience, this is very frequently different requirements, and you can either now say, well, I only focus on new ones because there might be new revenue coming in, but this will obviously create churn. So you have to find the right balance.
Got it.
And there's many more of this, like if you think about feature requirements versus technical depth, if you think about team or organization objectives versus corporate objectives, you have to find really the right balance in many aspects. Personally, work from a work-life balance up to your work life and your product.
Interesting. I know CEOs have a balanced scorecard. Some CEOs use this is exactly so that while chasing one of the important initiatives, they do not want to negatively impact other initiatives. So I understand that, but I had never found anybody in product trying to solve this. OKR also has a element where you can actually ensure that while you are chasing your objectives, there are some metrics that you should not be completely forgetting about. But nobody wrote anything on product balance, so that is why I found this very fascinating. So yeah, I mean, let's then jump into what product yield potential radar is. Piper, you say PYPR?
Piper, yeah.
Yeah. But before we jump into Piper, maybe we can start with why products fail, because Piper tries to solve some of this, right? So maybe let's start with your vast experience. What are some of the things that you have seen as standard reasons for products failing, and then we can see, okay, how did your Piper framework come into existence?
Yeah, exactly. So products, why products fail? I think there is so many reasons why products can fail and do fail. It's hard to really name all of them, but there's some common patterns. And maybe one interesting number to look at is, and I looked at a benchmark out there from the Product Development and Management Association, but I think there's many others. And they stated, in the best case, 65% of products fail. And Clayton Christensen actually states in his book, 95% of products fail.
Right.
But in any case, it's not good. There's way too much failure and waste. Besides everything we know about agile and product development and product management in the meantime, and common patterns really, in my view, is that going back to my theme of balance, we focus a lot on, for example, building the product.
Right.
And we build the product, and the next feature, another feature, we become a feature factory. But we forget about the other aspects of the product. And the product, at the end, is not the software, the service, the code. The product is the whole experience.
Right.
Our landing page, if our sales asset, if our training doesn't fit to the product features, this will ultimately lead to product failure. Right. The other thing, very common thing, is that, in my view, we're not solving the right problem. That's obviously the ultimate issue. If you have a product that does not solve a problem for your target market, then the failure will be faster.
Right.
Which is good on the one hand side. The more critical thing is that you actually solve the problem, and then you still fail after a year, after 2 years, after 5 years, because you're not holistically looking at the product. Other things I've seen why products fail might be that the organization is actually maybe too biased on selling. And if you're biased on selling and make commitments to one or the other customer, this might actually kill the product as well, or hurt the product, as you don't build for the market. Right. Yeah, so these are some common failures or that I see there. So yeah, one last thing maybe as well is that sometimes products fail. Besides, you have the best talent in the teams and you solve the right problem because of competing objectives.
Competing objectives, yes.
Yeah. So, as said, not normally, always, it's not a one-person show. There's many people who work together, sometimes like in SAP, in various departments and all on the same product. If there's competing objectives, this will again not lead to a consistent and holistic experience of the product. And then this obviously will harm the product and ultimately even it lead to complete failure, meaning the product will no longer be developed.
Got it. So that's how you came up with the Piper framework to solve some of these challenges. Um, so before we again jump into Piper framework, I would the one interesting thing that I learned about the book is that you have clearly listed out the 6 dimensions of product management, which I never knew. Of course, I knew them individually, but I never clustered them that these are the 6 dimensions. Um, so maybe you could list out what are those 6 dimensions are and why you picked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a great start.
So what I picked as like my way of clustering all the different success factors of product is number one is the very classic product viability. No rocket science. So if the product is not viable, then which means capable of living, obviously, then it will not be successful. And the main thing, maybe the little difference I put in here is it viable in this dimension. I also put success factors, which is what's the value for the customer,
Right.
not just what's the pipeline, profitability of the product, and stuff like this, but what's also the value for the customer. And I put that into one important dimension, product viability. The second one, maybe this I should call this the first one, is the actual product development or product engineering. If you have no product, then you don't need to manage anything. So, but building the product, which includes the vision and the strategy and the roadmap, if you go with a roadmap, the whole planning, product planning and execution and review. This is for me like the second dimension, which is another obviously very important dimension. What I did then is I separated 2 dimensions, which you could also put together. And that's no harm. Piper is not like you need to have these 6 dimensions. This is just my default configuration, but you can adapt it. As we talk maybe later about the steps doing holistic software product management with Piper, you see that you can adapt the framework. But in the default framework, I come with the next dimension of product success, which is go-to-market or product marketing, however you would like to name it, which is things like, do you have a proper go-to-market plan? And proper go-to-market plan also needs assets and enablement, including. And by the way, which is a very common mistake I see, many people think about a go-to-market plan for the first launch of the product. I think that for every new capability or feature. So if no one knows about it, at least of a significant size, if that might add another value to your product that is important to launch. So that's important that it's not, don't forget it as you run the product. If you have a new capabilities coming out or even a new release, if you work with releases, have a proper go-to-market plan. And I separated out of this dimension the topic of software demonstrations and training. You could actually combine that, but I thought, because I see that so often going not in the right direction, that having a proper software demonstration, having products-related assets, might be videos, might be online trainings, and having your pre-sales teams or customer success teams enabled, that's important. It might not be the biggest weight on your product success, but if you fall short there, there's a problem. That's why I separated it. The next dimension is the market and the customers. So it's all about the market. And so that you try to address with your product, the problems you want to solve for this market and your existing customers. What's your relationship with your customers? Do you have a relationship? Do you have certain advisory councils? Do you have collaboration models? And last but not least, very importantly, I put functional completeness there. So how complete product? I don't put that to product development because it's not us who define functional completeness. It's the market and the customers.
Got it.
Put it there. And last but not least, another success factor, in my view, is the organizational maturity. So if your product is great in all these other dimensions, but your organization does not live up to your aspirations, to your growth plans, to your collaboration model, this will also harm the product. So it's very. These are, from my view, a bit lengthy question, but these are the 6 dimensions, how I clustered them, in how I cluster the success factors of products to make it more consumable.
Got it. I just pasted the 6 dimensions again, just for good recall. Product viability, number 1. Number 2 is product development. Number 3 is go-to-market product marketing. Number 4 is the software demos and trainings. Number 5 is the market and your customers. And 6, I think it clipped my text there, it's organizational maturity.
Exactly.
So great. So this is the foundation, and that's why it was important to talk about these 6 dimensions, because I think you actually explain these 6 dimensions in your Piper framework. So let's begin by understanding what is the Piper framework. The Piper stands for Product Yield Potential Radar. It looks like a handful in my mouth.
Yes, it's way too much, and I really tried hard to come up with a really other name, and therefore I invented Piper as the abbreviation. And I never say Product Yield Potential Radar, just name it Piper. And even the teams who use it, for a very long time, no one called it Product Yield Potential Radar because it's hard to even remember. But why did I pick such a name? It's basically because of some of the keywords in there. First keyword for me is radar. So the R in Piper. And why did I call it radar? For me, Piper, the whole approach is, first of all, it is about holistic software product management. So this doesn't mean as a product manager, you work in all these dimensions, and you have to do all of this. I think it's impossible to do, at least in the right quality. Likely you have in one or the other dimension your home turf, you also have your hard deliveries and skills. But for product success, all of that is required. Therefore, what you need as a product manager, as a product team, not just a product manager, as a team as well, you need to understand, you need to have a radar. So what's going on? How are we doing in all these 6 dimensions and 30 success factors that I come up with? So the term radar for me was very important because it should be your detection system that determines really how good is your product, not your team, not you as a person, but the product. How good are we? And what is constraining the success of your product? And this is the next piece of Piper. So the yield potential. The yield potential actually comes from another concept that I found really interesting when I read about it, even back in my school days, which is Liebig's law of the minimum, based, if I recall it right, 1855. He wrote something down about how plants grow, and what he found out there is that you need to understand that increasing the amount of a plentiful nutrition, like if your plant has already lots of phosphate on the field, you don't need to add phosphate. It will not have any impact on a higher yield or on what the plant will grow. So the yield potential, the yield that you can get out of your crop, is determined by a limiting factor. And you need to understand, what's your limiting factor? Is it water? Is it nitrate? Is it phosphate? What is it? And different plants have different needs. And this for me was like eye-opening. Like, this is like product management, which sounds a bit strange at the beginning, but as you think about it, if you think about your product and you think about the nutrition is the success factors in the 6 dimensions, then the yield potential or the chances of success of your product might be as well constrained by something like your team health, or by something like your pipeline, or by something like your analyst. So if you're not, so you have to keep all of that in mind, and which then leads to product yield potential radar. So have the potential of yield of your product on a radar to understand where you need to invest your time. And going back to what we discussed at the beginning, where you need to get to a balanced view, because you have to have everything in balance. It will not help to add more water. It will not help to add more features to your product if this is not your constraining factor of success.
Got it. So does it help to have balance at every stage of the product life cycle, or at any given point of time, the attention or the priority is towards one or two of them more than the others, or are you saying the balance has to be there all the time?
Yeah, I don't think that you can reach that there's balance always. And that's perfectly fine. And it might be even a good tactic. If you think about blitz scaling,
Right.
then obviously you want to scale and grow as fast as possible.
Right.
Means by definition, you will be not balanced. And that's perfectly fine for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, maybe. But somewhere the other dimensions have to catch up. Otherwise, you cannot handle all this growth if you are successful. That's the theory behind that. So absolutely, and that's very normal. If you have a very young product, if you, for example, just launched a product, very likely your viability measures will be a bit lower. And what you do automatically, you try to sell your product, you get users, get adoption, and with that, you try automatically to balance it. So to your point, I don't think, and I've never seen, and I've looked at many products in the last years, at no product at all will be perfectly balanced. And you shouldn't work on everything in parallel, in my view. Let's put it, maybe that's wrongly phrased. Maybe you should work on everything, but you should focus on the constraining factor. And as a product manager or as a product team, if you have this detection system, if you do the assessment of your product, then you know where maybe the next 4 weeks, you mentioned OKR, maybe the next 12 weeks, you as a team should focus on to improve the yield potential of your product, to improve the chances of success of your product, which might be that you do some more competitive analysis, which might be that you do a team outing because your team health is really low, as you just did work a lot in the last weeks and months.
Got it. So what's the tool like? I mean, what's the framework like? Do we have something to show, where something visual, that this is how the radar is, this is where I can actually keep an eye at and use it as a practical tool to maintain balance?
Okay, yes. Yes, let me show you something. Let me see. Can I share my screen here?
Yeah. So
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. So yeah. Let me just bring it, add to the stream. Excellent. Great. Now we all can see it.
So do you see the full screen or the presentation mode? Actually, it doesn't matter. Let me.
Now I see the full screen.
Okay, perfect. So how does this look like in real life? So the first thing, as I said, you basically assess your product. And in these 6 dimensions, but behind these 6 dimensions, there is all the success factors. And what we didn't touch so far is, I don't think all of them are equally important. They are all important, but not equally important. Therefore, you see there is some weighting in there, and there is some average score. You score from 0 to 10, 0 being really bad, 10 being perfect. And this product, as you see here, this is like the radar of this product in these 6 dimensions, from viability to development to organizational maturity. And you see here that like go-to-market product marketing of this product, you see it's in numbers, but the radar will help you even more because it's visual. You see that this is your limiting factor.
Okay.
But this would be, if everything would be in balance, this would be your potential yield, but you actually are limiting your success. And by the way, this doesn't mean you're not successful tomorrow. This is more about, you might not be successful if you don't watch out and improve here. Maybe in a month, maybe in 3 months, maybe in 6 months. But definitely mid to long term, you will get an issue because you will not scale your product properly.
How do you score it?
Say it again?
How do you score it?
Yeah, the scoring basically happens by each of these success factors. So what's the pipeline looking like? What's the profitability? How is your vision and strategy looking like? And when the teams do the scoring, I have put some assessment criteria on each of these factors, which is in this default configuration 30 factors, 30 success factors. And I put to each of them quite some explanation and attribution on when something would be great, medium, or really bad. For example, hopefully if you ask product teams, do you have a product vision? Hopefully most teams will say yes. But this doesn't mean you get a 10 on the score. This might lead you to a 4. If you have a product vision that is really has all the attributes of a good product vision and is shared with the stakeholders, and you manage your product towards the product vision, then you might get a higher score. And this is, you basically do an assessment as a team, not as a product manager. Avoid the bias. As a team, everyone who is working in the product team, which means everyone who contributes to product success, which includes at the end everyone: sales, pre-sales, engineering, marketing, everyone who would like to contribute to the product. And then you do basically in a workshop, which normally takes 2 to 3 hours, you go through that and do the assessment of your product. And as you look at the assessment of your product, then you see here the detailed view, and if you go back, you see the aggregated view. And based on this, so if you look at here, go to market, it's obviously look the worst. But in detail, there is some element of the go to market dimension which is not too bad. But you should rather focus on this. So the team in this case, it's the actual product, which I didn't disclose here, but it's an actual product. The team decided in the next 8 weeks, before the next assessment happens, we focus on these 3 items.
Right.
So number 1, let's add competitive analysis. We actually know a lot, but it's not written down, and we always pull it into sales deals because we know it. But let's write something down why our product is maybe superior than the other product, and what should the teams focus on. Then the own consulting team, the own professional service team, was not up to date in the latest version. Right. And this team had actually a very lively customer community, and unfortunately, there were not enough official references that you could use. So the team said, let's focus on this, because these 3 items will help us to overcome and to work on the limiting factor.
Got it.
Which then, if you look at the next cycle, the gray area shows the last assessment 8 weeks ago, and 8 weeks later, the team meets again, does the full assessment, 2 to 3 hours, uses the rating criteria to honestly and fair assess the product. It's always about the product, not about the team and the department and the people and the person. It's about the product. And you see some items even went down and others went up. So as always, it doesn't mean that you decided to work on 3 items, the rest will stay stable.
Right.
There's lots of things going on. Therefore, it's always important to look at your product again. But the most important thing, the areas the team focused on, they also improved. And with that, you still go to market is the constraining dimension. However, for the assessment before, it was here, now it was here. So it's going in the right direction. And this is basically Piper in a nutshell, that you look holistically at all success factors. And then as a team, you decide who can and who wants to help the product, which might be not your official responsibility. Like sometimes you have like a separation in departments, and as a product manager or product owner, whatever your role is called, you might not be responsible for a go-to-market for a sales asset. However, if this is the problem, I would say all hands on deck, and let's support each other. It's about this is the constraining factor of product success.
Got it. I have a couple of questions here.
Yes.
Of course, the literature that I put in is exhaustive and deep in the book. So somebody who needs to go deep should get the book. My question is, how often do you get together to keep tab on the score, overall score? And then what you are saying is the dimension which has the lowest score is the constraint, right?
The dimension, yes, it's only a leading indicator. Going back to this example, so this is the dimension with the lowest score, but this doesn't mean we should only work here. So for example, this dimension, the market, your customer, it looks pretty good. It's actually like one of the higher. But still, if you look at the details, and this is important, so the dimensions give you just some indication, but you have to look into the details. And overall, yes, the focus needs to be to improve the dimension. But there might be items like this one in actually a pretty good dimension that it's a low-hanging fruit, or that you just also want to focus on because there's someone on the team who has the skills to do it. Yeah. So it's you have to look at both. That's my point. So dimension, yes, that's ultimately the limiting factor. But looking at each success factor as well is equally important. And then you make the decision as a team, what are the items you want to focus on? And I had teams who said, this is the 15 items we want to focus on. But my coaching would be, don't do this. 15 is too much.
Got it. My other question would be, say you score low in go-to-market and product marketing, but it depends upon the stage of your product. Say if you are at the early stage of product and you do this exercise and you score low on go-to-market, that is not the time to be ready for go-to-market. Maybe when the product develops to a stage where it is ready to be launched, that's when the go-to-market effort should be complete. Am I wrong?
You're right. It's a conscious decision. It depends how you want to do it. It's also part of your product strategy. If you look at this product, I just switched the product, and this is like it's not a complete new product, but a new capability that was built, a significant chunk of work with thousands of days of development. And if you look at this Piper, you see that the focus was mostly on the existing customer base of the existing product and on product development. Obviously, it wasn't sold in addition, or there's no adoption yet. And the go-to-market piece was is a bit reduced.
Right.
However, and that's totally fine for launch. I would actually claim in the perfect world, as you launch, you need to have these assets. Otherwise, the scale will be delayed. Nevertheless, very frequently you start small and you launch and then you learn and you even change your messaging a bit and positioning. Therefore, it's perfectly fine. And this is a very valid scenario. But it also shows you that you can now add more and more features if you don't look at the other dimensions.
Got it.
How
Yeah.
would you get investment into this product?
Got it.
So again, the balance, not at every single day you need to have the balance. Not at every life cycle of your product you have to have everything in balance. But keep the balance in mind, because this might, again, constrain your yield, your success.
Got it.
So
Do you also recommend the questionnaires to come up with the final score, or do you leave it to people to come up with their own scoring questionnaires?
no, actually, it's up to you obviously as well. Um, I in the book I describe partially this, but this book is already like written for some time, so it evolved, and I basically built an app to do this, where I came up with more than 1,000 rating criteria actually, which helps you for each, and it sounds a lot, 1,000, which is obviously not consumable,
Right.
but the thing is, Piper comes in different flavors, and there's different success factors for B2B products than B2C products. Then if you have an internal IT product, which is for me as well as a product, there you have different success factors. And it's even different if you have a product like this one that has not an own price tag, not on the price list. It's a product because you do the go-to-market on it, but it's a major capability of a bigger product that is sold as a suite.
Got it.
And for all of these product scenarios, I've thought about and wrote down what would be the rating criteria, what would be indications of good ratings and more lower ratings,
Got
which
it.
is it's a guidance. It's not a rule book, but it fosters the discussion. It helps the team to have some guidance to then decide, is it a 7 or a 9 or a 5?
Got it. So my next question is: do you eat your own dog food? Do you apply this at your workplace as well at SAP?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And even the teams, that for me was the main proof point. It also triggered my book writing. Even when I left teams, so I never mandated it. So it was never my style. I never said, now I'm your product manager, we have to do it like that way. I always introduced it, even my first team at SAP, because I said I worked on with the same concept before. Um, and the team keep this way of thinking, and at these days, kind of an Excel sheet to do it. Now there's an app, to even when I left the team. So this for me was a good thing, that the teams see value in this holistic thinking and the approach. And this, as I said, this for me was another motivation to write the book, and then finally to build the app on my spare time.
Wow. So what you are saying is you actually applied this before writing the book.
Absolutely. I wrote the book. That's why was also my misunderstanding when I wrote the book. I have thought it should be pretty fast writing a book, 3-4 months, I'm done, because I did all of that before. And also in the book, there is some case studies showing. So I would say I said I'm like now 20 years in product management, and at least 15 years ago, I started using this. This doesn't mean it didn't evolve since then. At the beginning, quite honestly, at the beginning, Piper was nothing else. First of all, it wasn't called Piper. It was basically a list of things I have to do or I have to think about.
Hmm.
And this list matured over time I understood a bit more what's more important, what's less important, what's the impact of the product life cycle, like, because I was basically launching complete new products, I was working on existing products, and this experience then shaped the Piper approach. But I was always in my mind thinking about the product holistically, whether I worked more on the go-to-market product marketing side or more on the development side.
Got it. Yeah. And did you ever feel the need to add any dimension, or everything, all aspects of your work would fall into one of these dimensions?
So far, it matured. At the beginning, there was more change, but I would say in the last 10 years, the dimensions remained.
Wow.
My default Piper, sometimes if you are, I also work with some startups, and there the organizational maturity is somehow not that important. I also have like a 5-dimension Piper,
Got it.
because the vision of the company equals the vision of the product. If you are a startup with one product, right?
Right.
You don't duplicate that. In the team health, it's also somehow it's covered here. So therefore, I think about 5 to 6 dimensions.
Hmm.
Again, I'm not saying I know everything,
Right.
and this is set up. The weights are exactly right. Therefore, in the app that we build, you can introduce your own dimension. You can reduce the dimensions. You can expand the dimension. Some people said, I want innovation as an own dimension.
Got it.
I personally think it's the wrong approach
Yeah.
to isolate innovation from the rest. But that's okay. If people think that way and want to do it, that's perfectly fine. And the same with the success factors. I come with my experience in certain areas, but if you think rightly that in your company, in your context, this is important, then please add it. And if other things that I have in my recommendation are not important to your company, to yourself, to your product, delete it. That's fine. But think about the product holistically, please.
This is amazing, because as you said, I've read a ton of books. Nobody has covered the concept of balance. And when you see this visually, it just brings so much sanity and declutters your mind, because otherwise it is very chaotic, right? Because you just pull all the cross-functional teams, and then I have been part of cross-functional meetings where all these uh, marketing team, trainer, uh, yeah, all the teams come, and then we talk, but nobody has this single holistic view that actually tells you the readiness of your at any given point of time. So it actually brings a lot of sanity. The next step is, you already it's a proven model. You said you have been using this for the last 10 years, so that uh, validates this framework. So how can, if somebody is listening to this and they want to apply this, what are the next steps? How can they at least try this out if it works for them?
It's a good question, and I'm currently not in the. So I'm currently trying to scale it, and one way of doing it. So yes, you can read the book, which is fine. I'm currently working on a short online training, so like a mini course,
Right.
which I try to launch actually next week. So and it's for free. Have a look. It's like 1 hour, which
Mm.
gets you a bit further. And I talked about the app. Um, we are launching the app actually officially in November. We have currently already quite some product in it, but it's in beta stage. And by the way, it's not SAP colleagues only. There's also other companies who look into the app and provide early feedback there. So best case, if you're interested in Piper, contact me. There's also my homepage, piper.works, which
Piper.
I strongly believe in. Piper works, to remind. And there's also some blogs and some more material where also on LinkedIn, where I outline some more of this thinking and details, and what are actually the success factors that I think are important here. I think, let me see, I think there's also in here somewhere, I think it's here, an overview on what's behind that. And you see here, like one configuration of success factors. Yeah, so back to your question. So yes, if you think that's useful for your product, and if you want to diagnose your product, I didn't plan for it, but now as I think about it, if you're interested, let me know, and I think I can handle 2, 3 of your products and would help you to diagnose your product.
Lovely. That would be such a big social service.
Right. As I said, for me, it's also learning opportunity and also get your feedback about what you think, and maybe connect with me via LinkedIn or via Ravi, via you, and we will then find a way.
So other than SAP, have you worked with other companies who have worked with this framework?
Yes, as I said, also even now in the, I don't want to disclose them because they have not released the product, but we have now worked with more than a handful of other companies to, and even when I wrote the book, by the way, as you know, I'm part of the Product Management Festival board. I used my contacts there to talk to some colleagues from Google, for example, because my background, as you said, is B2B products.
Got it.
And my background is also internal IT product. That's where I worked. I never worked in a B2C product.
Right.
Therefore, I talked to some colleagues there, to some product managers in B2C, said, does this resonate with you, this concept? And actually, I got a thumbs up from, I think, all of them, which might be biased because I asked them. Not sure, but I got the same thumbs up if I do an anonymous survey. But actually now in our let's call them beta customer group, I have actually B2C, and by purpose, we looked for B2C product teams. I have an internal IT department working with us, not SAP, also SAP, but also not SAP, and B2B. I'm pretty sure it works there.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I think you have given us enough context and touch points to dig deeper. I also shared the link, piper.works. So I have a few miscellaneous questions just to pad it up a bit. I know we are already close to an hour, maybe another 10 minutes we can stretch it. So some interesting concepts that while I was reading your book, I came across. There is an interesting section where you say focus plus alignment is equal to engagement. I always love formulas. But if you can explain this a bit, maybe add some context, that will be great.
Yeah, so maybe I start at the end. So I think engagement is really important. And what I mean with engagement could be very narrow, like the product team, that everyone is engaged, and engaged in 2 ways. And many teams I see, they are completely engaged with their product. It's their baby, it's their thing they own, and they want to see growing and become successful. So they have an emotional engagement and also rational engagement. They think about the product all the time. But if you think about holistic product management, you need many more stakeholders to engage. And how can you get these stakeholders emotionally and rationally engaged? How do you get your sales team engaged to your product? Especially if they have the option to not only sell your product, but 200 other products. So engagement is pretty important.
So is engagement same as getting buy-in, or how do you measure engagement? I mean,
buy-in is one thing. So if you need to convince someone, I measure engagement is in a way, do people contribute? Do they see, going back to Piper, do they contribute to the product success? Do they care about the product? Are they engaged with the product?
That's a very
Um,
good.
and this is my and why and engagement in this way. The formula, as you mentioned, is focus and which we do. So some many people focus. If your job is to sell software, you focus on selling software. If you focus to develop software, then you focus on the architecture and the best and clean code, right?
Yeah.
And now the thing is, it has to work together.
Right.
So focus, thinking about Piper, what's most important for your product right now? What's your constraining factor or your constraining factors? That's the focus component.
Right.
Alignment means explain everyone in your team, in your company, why is their work important?
Right.
What's the contribution of everyone to product success?
Got
Again, sales, what's the contribution? Please do not oversell. This will harm the product.
right.
Please do not undersell. We will be less successful as we could be. So your contribution is don't just look at the price of the product, look also on the value of the product, because then you have the right arguments.
Got
So
it. So
just
my challenge is, so I have also worked in B2B companies only all my life. My challenge with engagement, especially cross-functional engagement, is, as you said, competing priorities. All right. So there are, for the sales team, there are 5 different products being built. Same for the marketing.
yeah,
Uh, and sometimes for a product that does not have the highlight or the priority clearly laid out from the top down, then it is never in their radar, and engagement is low, and sometimes contribution is low. And in those cases, um, we have to escalate the issue, and then the senior top down management have to actually push this as a priority, and then it gets the engagement. Do you also have seen such a thing in your experience?
I also see that happening, but this also means it's a forced engagement. What I'm looking for is a rational and emotional engagement of the team because they see the purpose of their work. And the
Mm.
purpose of their work is not that senior management pushes something in that helps, no doubt. This always helps. But think about a company like SAP, where like I don't know how many products we exactly have, but let's assume it's around 800 to 1,000 products.
Got it.
Senior management will never tell you these 300 products are now the most important ones, or
Yeah.
this one product. Maybe they will say these 2 products are the most important ones for SAP.
Got it.
Still, other needs also to be successful. So what I try to do with Piper is really to give something tangible to the team, which is about the product. The product is the thing that combines everything together,
Yeah.
and also gives you a way to say, for example, wherever you are, whatever your contributions to the product, it hopefully gives you the reason why you should focus now on this product, because otherwise it will not be as successful as it could be.
Right.
And yes, competing objectives and there's also PMF trends and benchmark report that shows that competing objectives is like one of the top challenges for products, or for product teams and for product managers. If you get everything on the radar, then yes, sure, you have your objective maybe in your department and your silo, but it might also help you, especially if you're in product, to say no to certain requests. At least it helps. It helped myself a lot. If people come to me and say, "You have to do this," I always ask why. Look at my product. This is my radar, and I don't think I need to do another enablement sessions because you have a KPI on how many enablement sessions you orchestrate. As an example, random example. My product might not need that because my teams are enabled. They are up to date. There's no new things to learn.
Got it. That's interesting. So you use your Piper visualization to get clarity on priority and being
Absolutely.
sidetracked and distracted, not get distracted on other efforts.
Which is the focus component. And I'm not saying, and this will never be the case, 100% of the day is planned by constraining factor. It's really about focus. Yes, there is lots of things to do anyway, but at least in the next 4, 8, 12 weeks, whatever is the cadence you do, I recommend smaller cadences, like 4 to 8 weeks, because then the learning loop is faster. And there, again, don't take like 10 items on your list. Improve 2, 3, or 4, or 5.
Got it.
And then, because there's anyway many other things you do anyway in your daily business.
Got it.
The idea is not to automatically, magically manage your whole day. It's really to set the focus, like an OKR. It actually we also do OKRs at SAP, and this gives you actually a nice lever to have product-related objectives and key results.
Excellent. Thank you. I know we are getting late, but I'll not let you go without this last interesting bit. So you have a very interesting section on the role of product managers, and there are 2 chapters, which is leading the product team and instilling a product mindset. And the second chapter is Ikigai for product managers. Ikigai is a favorite concept of mine, but if you can quickly cover these 2 areas before wrapping this conversation, that will be a great setup to end this. So what is a product mindset for you with somebody with so much of experience? How do you consider the right product mindset?
Yeah, I said the right product mindset is for me what we just discussed, that we put the product into the center of what we do, and that we contribute with our work, and not just the product manager and the product engineering team, but everyone focuses on getting the product towards the vision or reduce the risks of doing so. That already for me is a product mindset that we have in mind, which again goes to what we discussed about Piper, that we have in mind what's important for the product. Not what's important for my KPI to do this amount of deals or do this amount of webinars, but what's important for the product. Having this as a mindset. And so the leading part comes automatically. If you use Piper, you lead automatically, besides you're not officially leading the team, because you make hopefully visible and clear what we just discussed, that what's everyone's contribution, and that the product needs help from the sales, pre-sales, marketing, whatever team you have in your organization.
Right.
And with that, you lead as well the focus. And I've seen, and this is for me actually the best situation. If I hear or if I'm in a meeting where we do like an assessment and people start helping each other, people don't look at their title or the department they belong to, but they actually say, oh, we need to do more product, we need more thought leadership, and actually I'm pretty good in writing, and let me write a blog about whatever, this certain topic. And no, I'm not maybe in product marketing, I'm maybe an engineer.
Right.
But it's important for the product that we show to the world that we have actually really cool ideas and we are leading in this thinking. And this for me is really one of the best moments in my day when this happens, because this shows that we get to a product mindset.
Got it. Nice.
And Ikigai, actually, I came to this concept. It's not a product management. It's not my invention at all. It's actually a Japanese concept, and I think it's somehow translated into the happiness of being busy. And this for me was just it resonated to me well for my product role. I have not met many product managers out there who are not busy.
Right.
And some of them are even happy. And this Ikigai somehow concept explained why people are happy. And in a nutshell, what does ikigai mean? Look it up. It's actually quite famous. If you if you Google it, you find a lot, and many people get to know about it. And ikigai tries to get into ikigai. The state of mind or the status of ikigai is if you are in the intersection of what you love, where you are skilled at, what the world needs, and what the world pays for. If you are in your profession or in your private life in the middle of that, then likely you have this feeling of happiness being busy.
Got it.
If you, for example, if you're in an intersection where something is missing, like you are in the intersection of you love what you do, you are really skilled, and the world needs it, but the world does not pay for it. Then you are likely delighted, you feel really full, but there's no wealth.
Got it.
No one pays for it. This might be okay for you, but if something is missing. And the same is if something else is missing. If you are skilled and the world needs something and the world pays for something, but you don't love what you do, that's also not, then you might feel comfortable because you're skilled and the world needs it and the world pays for it, but there might be some feeling of emptiness.
Right.
And again, this is, for me, resonated well, the ikigai concept, great invention. Whoever invented it, I think it goes back to Japanese tradition, from what I understand, which I really like and resonates well with me.
Excellent. Well, this brings us to the end of an insightful conversation with Timo. Timo, thank you for your time and sharing with us your wealth of knowledge. As I said, always admired your passion for product management, and I hope you keep contributing to the product community. And I mean, the framework itself is a big contribution, at least for me. But I've never taken the dive. I'm looking forward to take the training that you have scheduled in the coming days, and apply and see if it fits in my business context as well. So again, thanks, Timo, for your time.
Thanks, Ravi, for inviting me, for having me. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.